Greetings. This is Brother Dawood. Yeah, I was thinking about something. I was thinking about the hip-hop industry and how it have really transformed from the days of old to what it is now. And the year that I believe was the year that was the medium between what was to what is now was 1997. In 1997, man, it was a very powerful and memorable year in hip-hop. You had the death of Tupac in 1996. And then right behind his death, a couple of months later, was that of one of the outlaw members, Gaddafi. And then you had the assassination of Notorious B.I.G. But it's like, once these two gentlemen was out of the way, for some reason, this is when the game became wide and open. 1997. It's like the year 1997 was like a gateway, or the opening to that which we have now. Because if you look at the year 1997, they had a lot of banging albums, and one of the albums I remember, and when I was young, was that of Capone and Noriega, The War Report. And I remember being in Jersey and New York, visiting my family, and that song, it's abbreviated as Tony, T-O-N-Y, Invade, N-Y. That song, the abbreviation stands for Top of New York. But I remember they played that song to death. That and that song when they be like, laundromat track, lead the loot in Iraq, the world needs the world needs Iraq, something like that. But I remember my cousin having that album, and every track on that album was banging. You didn't have to fast forward no songs. I actually have the album myself, but every track on it, that was like the soundtrack to like the streets and the area of New York and New Jersey at that time. And then you had the likes of the In My Lifetime album by Jay-Z that came out that same year in 1997. And it had a couple of joints on there. That I believe that song, yeah, Sunshine was on that, and he had that Where I'm From. Like Where I'm From, Marcy's son, cough up a lung. That song was like, it wasn't like a whole track that they did a video of. It was that song and I forgot the other song. But it was connected to that song. You had Missy Elliott. Well, her album that she came out with that year, it was called the Super Duper Fly album, and the main single on that album was I Can't Stand the Rain. Remember the video? She had them big garbage bag material looking suits blowing up big in the video, and her face is all big, and she was in that Hummer and all that. She was coming off big that year, that summer of 97, and then you had her label mates and teammates, Timberland and Magoo. They had that song called Jumps the Boogie in the video, and they had cameos in that video too from Genuine and what's her name again, Aaliyah. So you had I'm trying to remember what else was out that year too. You had No Limit, Master P taking off. You had that Ghetto Dope out that year. He had that Charge It to the Game album. He had the soundtrack to his movie about it, and he had the movie. So this year it was a lot of, like, to me this is like one of my favorite years in hip hop, because it was so much to choose from of content. Not to take nothing from the artists today, but one thing about the year of 1997, it was like, it was the, like I said, it was the opening of that which was, another album I want to mention too, which was a very powerful album, was that Busta Rhymes, When Disaster Strikes. He had that Put Your Hands Where My Eyes Can See. That was another joint that they was playing big up in New Jersey and in New York. You keep hearing that dum 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 dum. You had that beat with something and how he was flowing on it. That's another one that was really big. And then you had, I want to give credit where credit due. For some reason, I felt that 19 '97 was Bad Boy year because, you know, Puffy put the smack down with his material. You had the No Way Out album that was out at that time that he put out. Then you had the Life After Death album. And then you had the Mace Harlem World album, all in 97. And I also want to mention you had the Wu-Tang Forever album. The album did good and went platinum, but the Wu felt that they didn't get the support that they felt that they needed because they felt like that of which Puffy and them represented was in their way. See, what it was that times was changing. And what I realized is that we was at a time in 1997, people was going through things. The times was changing. So Bad Boy and a couple of other artists, they was appealing to making people feel relaxed and want to party and to relieve themselves from a lot of the stress and pains that was going. So, you know, Bad Boy's putting a smack down, you know, and before Mace got down with Bad Boy, he was Murder Mace. And I remember my cousin playing the DJ Clue. And I heard them old school freestyles of Mace when before he was underground, like before he got on Bad Boy, he was a monster. So Puff brought him along to Bad Boy and polished him up and told him that if you want to go forward and be successful in this game, you got to go pop, so to say. So that's where, you know, you had the likes of a Mace that became very successful because of the touch of Puffy. Or P. Diddy, I should say. You follow? And with the I could say I'm trying to be very respectful and not choose sides in this matter, but Wu-Tang was sending a lot of shots at Bad Boy because of those records they was putting out. They was saying stuff like you got dudes in shiny suits jumping off of mountains and this and that. But people loved it. People went out and supported. And the reason why the Wu, in my honest opinion, they still went platinum on the album. But only reason why they didn't do the big numbers because the level and the wordplay of the album was above the people's head. Like, if you listen to the beginning of Triumph, you hear how Inspector Deck come off. He's speaking a philosophical, collegiate, using $10 vocabulary in his intro of that song. And the average person, they're like, what? I bomb atomically? How you say that? Something about atrocities and Socrates and this and that. People like, yeah, whatever. I just want to move left to right and have my drink in my hand. I want to feel good when I hear my music. I do not want to have a dictionary or a thesaurus when I'm listening to an album. That was the mindset of a great amount of people. You follow? So now you have this Bad Boy tour going on, and Wu-Tang and Bad Boy clash, and it resulted in the story that was out there that Mace got his ribs broken by someone from Wu-Tang, and it said that Busta Rhymes was locking up with Method Man or something like that. You know, I don't know the exact story, but this was being told out there. You follow? So that was, 1997. You know, you had that Wu-Tang Forever album, and you had the that Bad Boy material that I mentioned. You follow? And you had the Tupac Are You Still Down album with I Wonder If Heaven Got a Ghetto out in 97, which is a very powerful album. It was like pieces of old material from Tupac that they put together and put out. It was actually a double album. And also that Wu-Tang Forever was a double album. You follow? And you remember you had that that KRS One I Got Next album, which was another banging album. Who else? Oh yeah, Bone Thugs and Harmony had that Art of War out. Oh, and I forgot another powerful album too, the Firm album. That was another banging album, that summer, that year, 1997. It's so many albums, so many artists to name, because that year, like I said, it was like that's the goodies of hip-hop, you know. I remember also the Lost Boys had that Love, Peace, and Happiness album with the song called Love, Peace, and Happiness, and I'm in love with two women and all that. I remember playing that song in the car with my family, you know, driving around. The beat had that little nice tropical fantasizing like type of beat. You follow? You had a lot of underground raps that was on the rise, you know, 3-6 Mafias, and you had the Cash Money album. What was the name of that album they came out with? But it didn't get the commercial. Get It How You Live. It wasn't commercial yet, but if you was in certain regions of the country, you was blessed to hear that album at that time. You follow? And what was another album like that year? Oh yeah, I forgot about Scarface. Scarface had an album out that year. It was I'm trying to remember the name, but Smile was on that album, and Mary Jane. I'm trying to remember the name of that album. Forgive me, I felt so bad. I believe it was the Untouchable album, if I'm mistaken, by Scarface. But that was another powerful album too. And I remember, you know, driving around, and once again, and being out in the hood with my family and other places, and hearing songs of that album. But what I like about that year too, that's when the Box was a big video station, and you had to call in and request your videos by punching in the number of that video you wanted to see. And you know, you had I think it was called I can't remember, it was on BET. It was with the gentleman Donnie Simpson, I believe his name was. But that's your Video Soul, I believe it was. And then you had like BET, what they call that, BET, Rap City, and then you had Yo MTV Raps, you know. But everything is becoming digital now, you know. The analog days, for some reason, people was more hungrier than it is now. You know, the digital is putting people in a state of not really putting the work in to put out the quality music that once was. Like I said, I'm not knocking nobody, but music at that time and all them albums, these artists put in a lot of good work. A lot. You follow? But it's, like I said, it's too many albums to name from 1997. But I just felt that I had to touch on the subject because it was a very memorable year to me. And I was a youngin', seeing and hearing these good times that once was versus this time that we in now. You follow? I want anyone who's listening, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and also drop a comment of your most memorable song or album of 1997. You follow? Shalom. Salams. Godspeed.